guys, so this is a stave that I cut and split and sealed it up. It's been probably a year and a half ago, and it should be dried and cured and ready to go. So today I'm going to show you all how to chase a ring. So you need something to hold your stave in place. I use this small vise. If you have a bigger vise, that works even better, and it's less likely to move on you. I don't recommend putting your stave directly in the vise, so always use some thick leather, and I've also got this thick piece of rubber that I can put in the jaws of this vise, and I can hold the bow in place like that. So this Osage stave has a coating of glue on the back. It's got wood glue. That's what I used to seal it while it was drying, and so we need to remove that glue, and at the same time, I'm going to take a layer of the heartwood off the back. I'm going to try to chase a single growth ring on this stave from one end all the way to the other. So I've opened up a section here of the back, and this is going to be the ring that I try to chase. When you look at a stave from the end, the growth rings are in layers. When you look at it from the top, all you see is the single layer. I'm just kind of outlining the growth ring that I have exposed. So that's all one growth ring. Very gently scrape, and you can hear the crunch. That's a good sound. You're just lifting that ring, because this is a growth ring too. This growth ring and this growth ring were one. But we're going to remove all that down to expose this one that we have here. So we're just gently wedging that off. So this is all now down to one single layer of growth. So I think about everybody's familiar with the growth rings of a tree, and everybody knows you can start at the center of the tree and count your rings going out, and that will tell you how old that tree was when you cut it. Now this is all heartwood. This stave had probably a 1/4 inch or more of sapwood on top. I removed that whenever I prepared the stave for curing about a year and a half ago. What a lot of people don't know, though, is that growth rings are made up of two different kinds of wood. There's early wood, and then there's late wood. Your early wood is going to be more porous. It's not nearly as dense, and that's going to be what you see here as this white line in there. Your late wood is going to be extremely dense, and that's more influenced by later in the year when it's drier or colder, and that wood just forms a lot harder than the early wood. Early wood is where the tree first really starts putting on growth for that season. Osage has extremely dense late wood, which makes it really easy to chase a ring. In order to cut through the late wood, you really have to be cutting pretty hard. However, the early wood, this white porous stuff, it's really crunchy, it's really soft. A draw knife is about the best tool you can use for chasing a ring. You can hold it at the right angle and essentially just crunch off that early wood, and everything above it will peel off. So there's a right way and a wrong way to hold the draw knife, and the wrong way is to do it like this. You can still go through and chase a ring like that, but it's dangerous because you don't have good control on the pitch of your blade. If you go up, you're essentially just pointing a knife straight into that wood, and there's no way to control that. The correct way to hold a draw knife is to put this bevel down. So I'm going to flip this over. You're going to put it like that, and now with that bevel there, you have a lot more control on how deep, how steep that angle is, how deep you want to cut, you can essentially roll it up and just slide over it, not do anything, and then you can start to pivot that down like that and get the right angle so that you can chase that ring. And as I did that, you'll notice I've exposed some honeycomb looking structure. That is the early wood. That's what you want to get through. Once you get that early wood off, you know you've got the late wood underneath it, and that will guide you along so that you know you're on the right ring. So that's a pretty good angle showing you guys the late wood and the early wood. And then this right here is late wood on top of early wood. So this is an outer growth ring. That's the one we're removing. This is the growth ring we're trying to get to. And so I'm taking my draw knife to just peel all of this stuff off. One important factor when you're chasing a ring is going to be how thick your growth rings are. And so if you have really thick rings, it's going to be a lot easier to chase that ring. The thinner these rings are, the more careful you have to be when you are removing a layer off the back. If you cut all the way through the ring you're chasing, you will then need to remove all of that ring and take it down to the next ring. So there's a pretty good knot right there, and you want to be careful when you get around knots because the grain will do some weird stuff there. If you just go cutting through there as hard as you can, chances are you're going to cut through that ring, that growth ring you're trying to keep, and you're going to end up having to take the bow down further. So the best thing to do around a knot is to leave quite a bit of wood and then come back to it later and work it more slowly. Okay, so I have chased the ring on most of this stave now, but it's not done yet. There's still a few places that I need to clean up, and you'll probably see some white patches on here. All that is just early wood, and all of the late wood has been removed off the top of that. And there's a couple ways you can clean that up. Of course, the easiest way is probably just to take your draw knife that you've been using, and then you can just scrape that off. If you're worried about going too deep, you can actually set your draw knife on end like this, and then just use it like a scraper. So I've got some of these cabinet scrapers, and they're, as the name implies, they're made for scraping. And so you can take it and remove some of that off of there a little more gentle than you may be able to do with a draw knife. And you just do it by pulling like that. Or you can turn it around and push it. definitely recommend getting a set of these. They come in different shapes and sizes, and sometimes you'll have a stave with dips in there or bumps, and these different shapes are really good for scraping around those areas that would be difficult to get into with a straight knife. And then another way you can clean these up is to get some steel wool. You can just rub it like that, and it'll help you get any of the smaller stuff that's left over. And it will really polish up the late wood too. It'll make it look pretty good. Almost burnishes it and just gives it a little bit of a shine. This knot is kind of the last real big thing I have to clean up on the stave. And I left quite a bit of wood around it. So you can kind of see maybe that's all growth ring that I left behind. What I'm going to do is come back in with my draw knife and just start removing this and try to get up close to the knot without going through the knot. This is another one of those times that it's really important to have the bevel going down, because you really got to be able to adjust your bite and how much wood you're taking off. This is something you have to do on all your knots. The better of a stave you start with, the quicker and the easier it's going to be to do this process. So now I'm not even really pulling so much as I am just kind of getting under that top layer and just kind of slowly peeling it up. And then another good method for cleaning these up is going to just be a good old pocket knife. And you can get on this rounded edge where you can just really get up in there a little bit better. And you can use it the same way you were using your draw knife. Just, you got to stay between those growth rings. Go slow, make sure you're not cutting too deep and violating the growth ring that you've chosen for your back. And perhaps the best thing to do is determine if that even needs to be a part of your bow. And so a lot of it depends on the size of bow that you're building. However, most of them, 2 inches is going to be plenty wide. This one's going to be quite a bit narrower than that. And what I'm getting at here is that you don't even need to worry too much about a knot that you can cut out of the final product. And so this bow is going to be around 1.5 inches wide. And didn't mark there, but you get the idea. And if you follow the grain, it's going to look something like that. And so I can actually cut this entire thing out when I go to narrow this bow down. I can for sure cut that out and not even have to worry about chasing a ring over the top of it. Alright, so there you have it. This stave is chased. The ring is chased on it from one end to the other. We have single growth ring all the way across. That will form the back of our bow. So thank you guys for sticking with me. I'm going to be turning this stave into a bow in a series of videos. So if you guys will stick with me, go ahead and subscribe now. This stave is 59 inches long. It is some really good Osage, and so the design I have in mind for it is going to be a bend through the handle bow, and that's really as far as I've got as far as the design process. But on my next video, I will be drawing out the bow on this stave and reducing it down. With that, thank y'all, and we'll see you next time.